Aren't you tired of all those confusing legions?
Well, then why don't you update to the new and improved U.S. military?
Believe it or not, Rome's military and the U.S. military is very similar.
Rome was in a constant state of war or readiness.
Just like the U.S. is today.
They always had an army ready.
But in places around them, when they went to war, they would recruit whoever could fight.
Rome had bases set up near possible threats, just like the U.S. has today.
When they would take an area or country or population, they would have bases near them.
Especially if that area or population had a strong military.
Just like the U.S. did in World War II.
When we fought in Japan, we had military bases on islands in the South Pacific in striking distance of Japan.
Also, when we fought Germany, we had base in surrounding countries like France.
And when we invaded Kuwait, we had prepared bases in Saudi Arabia.
Rome also had a navy due to their position near the coast of Italy.
And nowadays we have Navy, Marines, and Coast Guard just like Rome. Rome had such a big army because any man who owned land had to serve in the army.
Training was brutal and any deserters were punished by death.
Tough discipline helped mold Roman soldiers into soldiers who did not give up easily.
In addition to that, they were practical problem solvers.
I'm Stavros Maximus, and I'm a legionary in the Roman army. I joined the army because I like swords and fighting, and because I was made to, of course. But it's not all work, you know?
What do you think you're doing, you horrible little man? You're supposed to be doing stabbing practice, so start stabbing!
Actually, thinking about it, it is all work. We train harder than any other army in history. We march 20 miles a day, build a whole fort, and then take it down again the next morning. Can't complain, though.
Lift your knees up, you horrible little man!
They hit you if you complain.
Left, right, left, right, left, right, left, right!
I suppose the food's not bad, though you do have to pay for it. In fact, you have to pay for everything in the Roman army. Your food, your uniform, your weapons, even your own funeral.
Of course, if you decide the army's not for you, you can always leave.
Though the army tends to look down on deserters, about 500 feet down to be precise. So I'd recommend staying to fight. The Roman army, be the best, or they'll kill you.
In the U.S. military, there are 3 different stages.
The red phase, white phase, and the blue phase.
During the red phase, you are prepared physically and mentally for training.
But before the red phase, you must go through the introduction, which teaches you basic tactics and how to shoot a gun.
After the red phase is the white phase, in which the soldiers go through marksmanship and combat training. They also learn to climb up and down.
This training is not only for physical benefit, but also to boost confidence.
After the white phase comes the blue phase.
The blue phase, you have more training with guns and grenades. They put their training to the test by negotiating the Night Infiltration Course.
The Night Infiltration Course, or the NIC, you have to scale obstacles and crawl under barbed wire with live rounds or real bullets flying over your head and go through controlled explosions.
After soldiers are done with all the phases, they graduate.
To be ready for battle, you had to be mentally and physically ready, just like in Rome.
As most of you probably assume, the Romans didn't have an air force, but they did have a strong navy.
The naval fleet could supply troops and equipment to where they were most needed in as short time as possible.
They beleaguered posts under enemy attacks and in turn blockade ports under enemy control.
A powerful navy was also indispensable to deal with pirates who wreaked havoc.
In naval battles, vessels became battering rams using bronze-wrapped battering rams. In battle, maneuverability was very limited.
The strategy they used was to ram into opposing ships and then pull out so the ship would sink.
In our Navy, there are only planes and battleships.
You can be a fighter pilot or on a battleship.
Due to having planes in the Navy, how we have aircraft carriers in the Naval Air Fleet.
Believe it or not, the submarine greatly changed our naval strategies and led to the development of many new weapons and tactics.
Submarines are the most invulnerable in battle.
Our Navy is better because 1. We have guns, 2. Our ships are sturdier, 3. We have submarines, 4. We also have more maneuverability. This is the Roman setup for, this is a complete legion, and in every legion there were 10 cohorts, and in the second cohort to the 10th cohort they had 6 sentries, and in each of those sentries were 80 men. And in the first cohort they had 5 sentries, and in each of those sentries there were 160 men. You might be asking why the U.S. is better. Well, first of all, we have guns.
We have so much more advanced technology.
You train harder in the U.S. military.
Our bases are bigger.
We don't have confusing legions.
We have submarines.
We have so many more soldiers.
At its peak, Rome has 25,000 soldiers.
The U.S. has 1,369,532 active soldiers.
We have 850,880 soldiers on reserve.
So we have more soldiers on reserve than Rome had at its peak. So if you're tired of all those confusing legions, slow boats, and boring technology, upgrade to the U.S. soldier today. I'm B. Miller.
And I'm Alexis Williams.
And this was our project for third period social studies of an enduring impact for Rome.